Hello, Sabrina. Hello, Sabrina. Hello,
Good
everyone.
morning.
This is the Herman Stewart Mentoring Show, and it's just the whole thing with being live. We had a bit of technical issues, and it wasn't Sabrina's fault; it was my fault. But we got to find it out. We don't have a big tech team. We don't have like people running around being able to sort it out. So we're just doing it, and we just have to get to the point that we're live. So I just want to say thank you for your time, Sabrina. Apologies
No
for the
problem.
technical difficulties on my side. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation and being able to speak about some of the things that you've experienced, your expertise, your passions, and so forth. But before we even get into that, I really want to introduce my guest today. On the Herman Stewart Mentoring Show, I have different individuals that have different expertise, have different insight into different industries, working with different people. A lot of them are working with young people as well. And today's guest is no exception to that. She is an exploitation and county line specialist. She's trauma informed as a practitioner. She's a young person engagement specialist, keynote speaker, trainer, consultant. She's an MBCC award finalist. She is so many things, and I am looking forward to speaking to her. And I've got Sabrina Hewitt with me today. Sabrina, how are you doing today?
Thank you. Like that's the best introduction I've ever had in my life. I love that. But I'm very well, thank you.
Well, you know something, I am really intrigued with your story and really intrigued with the things that you do and the things that you've experienced and so forth. And I believe I think where I'm going to go actually is based on a TikTok that I saw that you done, and you were speaking about, I'm a lived experience practitioner. I'm a lived experience practitioner, and I feel that that is so important. And what is your experience? Because I know that you've got to have a bee in the bonnet about it, or there's something why you feel you needed to share that. So let's start with that. So what are your feelings, or what are your thoughts? What are the connotations around a lived experience practitioner?
For the most part, it's quite positive. But then from my own experience, as you heard on my TikTok, you get these little undertones of like negativity, a bit of pushback, and I just feel at this point we're not, as a lived experience consultant, we're not really. I don't feel that we're taken as seriously as I believe we should be.
Okay. That's very interesting. Do you have any thoughts about it? Because it sounds like it's an experience that you've been going through. It's probably, as you said, there's been pushback sometimes. There's probably undertones, there's connotations, there's nuances, there's all these different kind of things. And what has kind of been a conclusion that you've come to? I know that you're not being presumptuous because everyone's going to have a different view. But what are some of the conclusions that you have come to concerning why, as a lived experience professional, you're probably not taken as seriously as someone that is not a lived experience professional?
So from my interpretation and like how I've perceived things, it's more of a case of what kind of gives you the authority to be able to speak on this subject. Whereas, me as a professional, I've been to uni, I've done how many years studying, this is my expert field. And now you used to be a bit bad when you was younger, and now you're coming to kind of tell me how to do my job. And it's really not that. It's more a case of, for me, all of us working together, we've all got the same goal, apparently. And I just feel it doesn't matter how we get there, as long as we get there together. But it seems like they feel maybe that a lived experience consultant, because a lot of the time, if I'm honest, we do get better outcomes, and they may feel that we're undermining the work that they do, which definitely is not the case at all.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said kind of hit the nail on the head for some of my thinking, in a sense of, and I'm not saying that this is everyone, and I think whether it's practitioners that have just got academic credentials and insight and a passion, because you have to have a passion to want to even be in the field.
Yeah.
Is it sometimes seen as threatening, you know, someone that has the kind of experience that you have? Because really, in a sense, it can't be topped. You know, if you're just looking at academia, you know, even if someone went and got a PhD in it, it can't top the fact that you've actually been at the coalface as a recipient, as a beneficiary, as someone that has been exploited, as someone that has been impacted. Mm-hmm. Like, it can't really be topped because you actually have had the experience. Do you know what I mean? And the power of it, to me, is not just the fact that you've had the experience, it's the fact that you've actually come out the other side of the experience, because a lot of people will have the experience, but they won't come out the other side of it. Or if they come out the other side of it, they probably haven't worked through some of the things that enables them to be able to present and work through it as a professional, or they don't have the passion to be a professional. You know, they're still trying to get their lives together. You know, so to me, I don't think it's just the fact that you've got a lived experience in this realm. I feel it's the fact that you've got lived experience, but you've picked yourself up. You've got a conviction of, you know, something, I want to do something about this. And not only that, I'm going to go and study this. So it's like you've got the study, you got the syllabus, you got the work behind it, but you've got the insight that is much more deeper than the work, because the insight is actually being in a situation or being in a circumstance or being in that place of danger, that now you can look at it in an empathetic way through the eyes of young people that you support, because you know some of the tell signs, you know what happened, you know the impact. So I think that the lived experience part of it is powerful, but I feel as well it's like, it's like carrying the scars of it is almost like one of the cons of it, even though it's being a pro of it. How have you managed that, in a sense of going through it, coming out the other side of it, but still having to have things that you're going through your healing and through your transformation, and seeing some of that in practice, like in a sense of seeing young people go through the same thing? How do you deal with it, and how have you dealt with it?
For me, when it comes to the things that the young people that I support, what they've been through, for me, it's always the case. I've got older children. My son's 24 today, actually, and my daughter's going to be 20. And I always think to myself, if my kids are ever in a situation where they needed support from a professional, I would want them to be spoken like this. I would want them to be respected. And then that's how I treat everyone else's children. And I do what I can to help. I'm very, I'm open and honest. We can have a laugh. But then when it's time for serious things, I'm not afraid to have those conversations either. And with regards to going through what I went through and now kind of basing my work off of that, I found it to be very helpful for me as well. Because there was a time when even speaking about it kind of brought me back there. But now I'm okay with it, as I feel like it's given me some peace, like being able to share. And like you said, for me, it's not really sharing about what I've been through. I only do that if it's necessary or if there's a reason for it, an outcome. But for me, it's kind of more like what we do now, like moving forward.
Okay, that's interesting. And for me, it'd be good to get a bit more understanding concerning, you've gone through what you've gone through. It's a part of your story. I'll give you an opportunity to share a bit, to give context, because some people that may not know of your work, they may not know the details of what you've experienced and so forth. But as a part of going through the process, did you have to go through any therapy or any counseling, or is it something that you've just gone through yourself and you've just come to terms with it and reconcile the things that you've experienced personally?
Yeah. So I was never offered counseling or therapy, but it's never been something that I felt that that would help me. My mind is kind of, well, I've been through it. We're in a completely different space now. Why do I need to go back to it? If that makes sense. I'm kind of focusing on the moving forward. So a lot of people have asked me, you know, have I had therapy, counseling? And the answer is, like, the short answer is no. And that's through personal choice. I just don't believe that it's for me.
Yeah, and to tell the truth, it's definitely a personal choice, and some of it is about timing as well, timing and motive and need, you know. And if you don't feel that it's necessary, then there's no reason why you would go through it. So what I want you to do is to be able to share a bit of your story with the audience. And a big part of why we do the work that we do, because I mean, for myself, I've worked with a lot of young people. I've mentored young people that are on the periphery of gang activity. In gang activity, I've mentored young people that have been susceptible to experiencing county lines, or they've been at they've been on the periphery, like almost like drawing them out before they get into it. So in a sense, for me, it's always been about how do we help young people to avoid getting involved with the culture, getting involved with the temptation that may be drawing them into that world that may not be that obvious to start with. It may just seem cool, or it may seem like being around certain people, or as a part of the culture, as a part of music, or whatever it is. And how do we, as practitioners that do preventative and proactive work with young people, that do speak to young people before they get involved in deeper crime experiential activities or so forth. But it would be great to hear your experience of kind of just your story of how you started, and even before, you know, probably like life experience, home life, and what happened, and then how you got in, and then we could have a discussion about it as well.
Yeah, sure. So I was exploited originally from home. So a close family member was big drug dealer in the area that I grew up in. Every time I would go out with him, like, it'd make me put things in my little rucksack or whatnot. Obviously, at the time, I'm not thinking anything. I'm like 7, 8 years old at the time. So I'm not thinking anything. Drugs, drug paraphernalia, all that. It was just so normal for me to see at home. It was, yeah, things I saw on an everyday basis. I wasn't aware that it was wrong, to be honest with you. I think around the same time, when I was around 8 or 9, we got woken up by armed police, guns in mine and my little sister's face. She's like 18 months younger than me, so she'd have been about 6 or 7. And then my mum, like, she was just kind of stuck, frozen in the position wherever she was. And then through my bedroom door, I can see into the bathroom, and my dad was laying on the bathroom floor with like all the armed police around him. So I've kind of like looked around, kind of assessed the situation, and realized like no one's going to really do anything. So I said, all right, let me just get my little sister and myself ready for school. So we got to school now, but obviously it's still a bit of a panic and a bit of a daze and whatnot. And in the rush of it all, I forgot to bring a school bag or whatever. And my teacher, I remember, she just really got onto me about not having it. And that's fine, all right, I can accept that I should have had it. But in my mind, I'm thinking, like, have the police killed my dad? Is my mum okay? Should I leave school and go home and help my mum tidy up? Like, all these things are going through my mind. And then I've got her going on about not having like my school equipment. In the end, I threw a chair at her, And then that's when I kind of but noticed all labels started to be attached to me. So, you know, I was called aggressive, I was, you know, rude, and all those. And this was from, as I say, a very young age, 8. No one asked why I had such an outburst, because in fairness, all she did ask was for a bit of school equipment. So no one really figured that the behavior was a bit disproportionate to like actually what was going on. So I feel that that was a missed opportunity. And it was pretty much like that all the way through growing up. Home life was very tumultuous, very chaotic, a lot of domestic abuse, obviously drugs. The domestic abuse started to fall onto me. So I was like a frequent, like I used to run away all the time. And even then, there was no one asking why I was going away, where I was going. It was more a thing of, you know, you're lucky to have your parents still together, and now I've got to do a report. Like, you know, it just kind of seemed like I was like a burden, like I was making more work for the social workers.
Okay.
Finally, I left home just before my 16th birthday, was put into residential care home. I was there for about a year, and then they moved me to a adult hostel. But the age for the adult hostel was 18 plus, and I hadn't reached 17 yet, so I don't know how that was done. But it was while living in the hostel that I met someone, and then I was re-exploited again. And that exploitation lasted, I want to say, like over 15 years. So I was,
wow.
Yeah, I was held in that, for a very, very long time.
Wow. I mean, there's so much in there that you've just said. I mean, the first time, you know, when you said you threw the chair at the teacher, was that in primary school or secondary school?
Yeah, primary school. I was in like year 4, year 5.
Yeah, year 4. So he's really, I mean, he's really young.
Yeah.
You was going through that. And I mean, it's just shocking to hear, like, you've had armed police come to your house and you've still gone to school normal. You know, it's like it's like
crazy, isn't it?
wow. You know, and it's clear. I mean, from what you said, it's clear that you were emotionally, mentally impacted by the pressure and the things that was going on around you, because
Absolutely.
when you was asked about the chair, when you was asked about your school equipment, the way that you dealt with it was throwing a chair, and that throwing of the chair was really above and beyond the moment.
Absolutely.
You know, and even though you had that situation in primary school, how was your school life? I mean, was it a bit normal? Because that was like year 4. Did you do your SATs normal? Did you have like normal aspirations in school? How was school? How was it?
So I finished primary school after that, did my SATs, everything, that was fine. Went on to secondary school. It was secondary school for me was a bit difficult, because on the one hand it was an escape from home, but then on the other hand, it was kind of a case where at that particular point in my life, I was kind of, I don't want to call it an identity crisis, but I kind of wasn't sure where I fit in, because like my dad, he's Black, Jamaican. My mum, she's Asian, but she's Jamaican. So it's like, where do I fit in with my peers? Because you're not accepted by one, you're not accepted. Do you know what I mean? And it was just very difficult. So I kind of I didn't really keep to myself. Like, I had friends, but I didn't have a specific solid friendship group. So I think, I don't know if that was good or bad. It was just what happened. With regards to school, so when I was in like year 7, up until like year 10 to year 11. I think throughout my whole school life, I sold weed to my friends. Years 10 and 11, I was turning up at school drunk. No teacher ever intervened with any of that. I did my GCSEs, got 9 GCSEs, A star, and I think my lowest was a B. And yeah, I managed to do that, but that wasn't because like I wanted to study or like I was like, oh, it was just I found studying I didn't find it challenging, so I'd be able to miss say 6 months worth of like one lesson, but still be able to catch myself up and things like that. So I managed to do well with my GCSE. So school was okay, but yeah, it wasn't the best.
I'm interested in understanding, that part where you spoke about identity crisis, and you said, I don't want to really call it an identity crisis. But then you was giving clarity around coming from, a dual heritage background, and both, you being a combination of both, but both in of themselves, as you says, never really fully accepted you. I mean, was that a reality though, or was that how you felt? Did you feel you wasn't accepted, or was it a part of your internal dialogue and like reflecting on what was going on?
No, I do feel that it was that, because the reason I said I didn't want to call it an identity crisis, because for me, within myself, I knew who I was, what I was. But then when people are not accepting me as that, and then I'm finding myself having to explain, like, no, I really am black. Like, do you know what I mean? And it was just, it just got jarring to the point where it's just like, oh, believe what you want type of thing. But it wasn't an identity crisis as such, because I knew who I was. I knew what I was brought up, what I was always told. So, but it was just the fact that I felt like I had to justify it and like confirm these things. So that's what I mean. It was like very strange to me.
Yeah. And even though that your background was really challenging, I mean, it's there's things that no one else will ever know. And you've got to know, and you've got to overcome, and you've got to go beyond, and so forth. But do you reflect on times that was good, or were there times that was good that you can remember, or was it just always tumultuous? It was always challenging, or do you remember times that it was good?
I'll be honest with you. I know there must have been times that were good, obviously, but I don't really, they don't stand out. I feel like through childhood, I was living on survival mode. So when things were good, it kind of scared me even more, because it's like, oh, why is this good? What's going to happen next? Type of thing. So that's when I say, like, there must have been good times. Obviously, I would never say there wasn't, but to be able to pinpoint them, etc., I don't think I can.
Yeah. And I mean, it was quite surprising, when you were speaking about just how well you done academically with that kind of backdrop in your life, turning up at school, being intoxicated, having a number of different challenges, but doing what a lot of children don't achieve, and their lives are fine and perfect, and they've got their revision timetable, and everything's in place, and their room's nice and serene, and everything's able to be done. I mean, when you was at school, did you see that you had that potential, and were there ever times that you did dream of being something or achieving something from school? Were there ever times that you thought like that?
So it's going to sound a bit weird, but I didn't really realize that I was intelligent until I was in maybe year 9, and my English teacher spoke to me. She pulled me aside and she was just like, your English work is amazing. And I'm just looking at her like, oh, thanks. I have never been used to people praising me. So when I'm hearing it, I'm thinking, okay, what does she mean by that? Or is she, do you know what I mean? And then she always used to like really talk to me. She said to me, you know, you've got the potential if you wanted to do law or anything like that. She's like, you'd have the potential. So I didn't believe her, but it kind of stuck with me. And within myself, I kind of thought to myself, oh, actually, maybe I could try, I'd be a lawyer or whatever. But I never shared that with anybody. It was just always something that I held to myself, like maybe. And I just thought, if I don't share it with anyone, if it doesn't happen, then I've not really, you know what I mean, embarrassed myself type thing. So yeah, it was that. It was just that one teacher. She kind of really took a good interest with regards to my academics.
Okay, and so you left home before you finished school. It sounds like.
No, so I had just finished school. So GCSEs was in May. My birthday was the June, and I left just after school. So
okay. And you, was it that you just had no choice at that point, or was it that at 16 you felt you wanted to be independent, or was it like a decision?
No, it wasn't really. It wasn't really a well thought out plan or anything like that. Literally, it was my sister and I had an argument that morning, and she had told my dad like some of the things that I had said to her, but he was on his way out, but he's gone off at me, and he was just like, when I get back, I'm gonna do this, that, and I was just like, I've heard it 100 times. So I'm just like, okay. But then I sat down when he left. I just sat down and I just thought to myself, actually, I really don't want this, and I just walked out. I just left. So it wasn't like it wasn't like a thought through plan or nothing like that at all.
Okay. And you weren't convinced to come back. You just was like, I'm just going, I'm not turning back. Yeah.
Never lived back there.
Yeah.
Since.
So I guess it's, I mean, that was quite courageous. And I guess being exposed to the things that you was exposed to in life, the challenges, the tough times, the difficulties, the street life, I guess it would have made you quite streetwise. I guess it's, you know, you would have been, even though you're 16 in age, your years were much more advanced in a sense of the things that you was exposed to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, and just the fact that you had to be courageous. I think that's, you know, that's courage. But I think, you know, you felt like something in you knew that you could do that. Do you know what I mean? You knew that you could just leave home and survive, you know, and you went, you know, not a lot of children, you know, could do that, especially in this day and age where we are. Just go and not come back. But you said that you ended up being in a residential care home. How was that experience for you? Was you exposed to any kind of exploitation at that stage, or was it only when you went to the hostel?
No, it was only when I went to the hostel. When I was at the care home, by then I had like a little part-time job at Sainsbury's. I was going to college, so I wasn't really part of the care home life. I just slept there. So I had no problems there, no issues.
Well, it sounds like it was sounds, you know, there was a routine going on, sounded stable, you know, like you got a job, you know, and why did you have to leave?
Because the residential care home was for 16 and unders.
Oh,
and I was
okay.
Birthday.
Okay, I get it. So when you went to the hostel, as you says, you was in this hostel, and it was above your age. It was for those that were 18. That's when you met someone, and that's when you start to be exploited. What was that story like, in a sense of, I guess that was like the foundation of the next level of the exploitation, because for you to be exploited for 15 years, that was like into your adulthood now. And was it like when you was young, you said that you never really knew what was going on. You never even knew that it was really bad. You never knew, when things get put into your rucksack, that this is, it shouldn't be like this. But when you was at that age, it's 16, 17, what was your mindset around exploitation? Was you naive in any way, or was you aware, and was you interested in that world, or was it something you was coerced into?
So when I was growing up, when I was going through this, exploitation didn't have a name. It wasn't what it is today. It wasn't known as what it is today. So I wouldn't have had any idea about exploitation, and I had no clue what that was. It kind of was a case. I don't think I was coerced into it initially. It was more of a case of everything I was witnessing, everything I was seeing was just very normal to me. It's things I had seen growing up around the house and things I had been exposed to previously. So it didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. This is really like such a big red flag. You shouldn't be involved. It was more of a case of, oh, I know what it is. I know what that's for. Right? Do you know what I mean? So I didn't, no, I just took it as familiar, really, something that I knew.
Yes, I guess you was, conditioned to
it was just all I knew.
Yeah. And were there points in that journey that it started to really go outside of what you knew, when you started to experience a life that was really dangerous? The reason I ask is I read one of your pieces, and you was talking, it's one of your blogs on your site, and you was talking about a young girl that just wants to please her boyfriend, and she, her boyfriend says, can you carry this and go to this place? And then he, she met someone that was addicted to crack. But it just sounded like such a dangerous situation that could have went very differently. I don't know the end of the story. I don't know if it's fiction to you. I don't know if it's a real story. I know it's a definite real story in the sense of it's what people are experiencing. But were there experiences during this path that started to highlight something that was very different? You've been around strangers, you've been around different situations that started to transform it from being something that you was previously conditioned to something, this is the new world now, this is something different.
So I think that would have probably been when I was first asked to jump on a train and carry a package up. And when I got there, I met the person at the other end, went back to the house, and I was told someone will come and pick me up in the evening to bring me back to London. I don't know, I think it was like 9 or 10 days before anyone came and got me. And that was the like, oh, I'm just kind of stranded. Do you know what I mean? And for me, that was very scary. However, I say that, but when I did eventually go home, come back to London, like the praise and the positivity I was receiving, it kind of cancelled out everything I had felt whilst I was away. It's like I'm coming back to, oh, you did so well, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? And I got money on top of it. So that really definitely cancelled out the way I was feeling whilst I was there. However, whilst I was there, the feeling is just such a horrible, unsafe. I think that's the most scared I've ever been in my life.
9 days. When you're saying 9 days, I'm there thinking in my head, so what was happening? Do you know what I mean? Like, in a sense of your routine, like what's going on for your food? Is it just being fed? Is it just watching TV?
There was a TV. I was selling drugs, literally selling drugs. The guy whose house it was, we'd send them out to get food for us, or do you know what I mean? Things like that. It wasn't nice. It wasn't nice. I was there. There was maybe 3 or 4 males there with me, and even though it never happened, there's always for me, I always felt that undercurrent of possible sexual abuse. I always kind of was on edge, kind of felt that it could happen. Thankfully, it didn't, but that made the fear kind of heighten as well.
And this is what young people are going through. A lot of young people, you know, and based on your work, you're hearing these stories and you're working with these families. Is there anything that you could share with us in a sense of some of the things that you're aware of, in a sense of the statistics, and these things are happening, like the commonality of like how many days people are going missing? Because I mean, 9 days, was that like an extreme experience? Because when I've heard people are going missing, it's usually like 3 days, or it's never. I've not really heard more than 7 days. I haven't, like through the work that I'm doing, or people having like missing episodes. It's a couple of days and so forth, and some of them are usually they're living at home still. So it's their parents are saying that they've gone missing and now they've come back and so forth. But 9 days is a long time.
There was no one to report me missing. There was no one to report me missing.
Wow.
And obviously, the guy who I was with and who I was working with, he lived in the hostel with me, so he knew no one's gonna report me missing. He knows staff don't do room check and roll call and things like that. So I was kind of in the right position. I could go for longer because of that exact thing. There was no one to report me missing.
And was it something, because as you said, like when you came back, there was a lot of praise, a lot of adoration for what you'd done. There was money, there was all these things you said kind of wiped out like what actually happened. Did that create a foundation or springboard for you to do it more times? Was it something that then you done more, or was it something that it was like a really significant one-off experience, or was it then over these next years it's something that you've done and you was much more aware of what to expect?
So it wasn't the first time that I did a long stay, but for me, I positioned myself in a place where within the group where I was an asset, so I would continue to get that praise. Do you see what I mean? Like, I've never experienced praise. No one's like ever clapped for my wins or nothing like that. And now these group of people I'm with, and the person who I'm with is like my partner, well, what I believe to be, and I'm getting all this praise from him, his friends, and it's something that I kept chasing, I guess. So I positioned myself in a like within that group where I was needed.
And I guess this goes back to the start of our conversation about lived experience, because when you're talking about that kind of lived experience, it gives you such an insight into the person that has been exploited. It gives you an insight into the person that is staying away from home or going missing, or circumstances that create this situation in their lives. How has it helped you as a practitioner, what you've gone through? And before we go into that question, actually, let me take one step back. Why did you become a criminal exploitation expert practitioner? Why did you go into that world? And answer that one first, and I'll ask you another question.
Honestly, it was never ever in the plan. So my son, when he was maybe 14, he was in a pupil referral unit, and he had a worker from a charity And I had to meet with this lady, and I've said to her, look, I've done this, we do that, blah, blah, blah. And she said to me, well, to be honest, you've done everything that I would have suggested you do. So I said, okay. But she asked me, have I ever considered working with young people? So I was like, no, actually, I haven't. And she said, oh, I think you'd be really good. There's some volunteering roles at the charity. Like, would you be interested? And I kind of thought about it, and I thought, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. So I volunteered with the charity for 3 months, and then I was offered a paid position. And then from there, like any training, any education around this subject, I'd be on it. I'd be the first one signing up. And by doing this, I kind of learned more about what had happened to me, because it was whilst doing these courses that kind of the light bulb kind of went off, and I was like, oh sugar, I was exploited. Like, this is what happened to me. And that was very big, because this time I'm a grown adult, you know. So it was that's how it kind of found me, as it were. It was never something I had thought about or considered.
And it sounds like that could have potentially been a part of the therapy, you know, in a sense of you not going to a therapist or sitting down and talking about your story and so forth, but in the training, you're seeing and hearing, and so you're reflecting on these things and probably seeing, like, you know, the blessing that it never went the other way for you, you know, like you came out the other side in a different way. Well, my other question was is how did you come out? Like, how did you stop? Was it that you just ended with a partner and you just moved on, or was there an intentional move to come out, or what happened? What was your process?
I got a 3.5 year prison sentence, and then whilst I was in prison, I had to just squish it all and focus on my kids.
Okay. Was it only you that had that sentence, or was there a number of people that had the sentence?
No, it was just me.
Okay, wow. And then your children, what happened to you? Because I guess you had your children at that time.
Yeah, so I approached social services, explained the situation to them, that I was looking at some time away, and I said, I've got no one to watch my kids. I don't want them to go to any family member. And I'll be honest with you, is the best interaction I've ever had in my life with social services. They went above and beyond. And they, I think once I finished court, they found foster placements for my children. Then I asked them to put in writing that, you know, it's a voluntary arrangement, and as soon as I come home, I get my kids back. And they wrote the letter to confirm everything. So they did. I couldn't have asked for anything, like, to be fair with you.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that shows your determination. You know, you wanted your children, you wanted, you know, your faculties were all there. In a sense, of what I'm trying to say is, you knew you wanted a different life, even though I'm not sure you was clear on what that life would be. But you wanted to be a parent, you wanted to be responsible, you wanted to, you know, the prison life wasn't your life. You know what I mean? You wouldn't ask for those kind of things if you weren't 100% clear, you know, clear and committed that this is a chapter of my life, but this isn't my life. Does that surmise it? Does that surmise it well?
I think for me, in all the years I was doing everything I was doing, my biggest fear was being separated from my children. And obviously that's now happened. So I'm thinking to myself, how can we minimize the impact that this has on them, as well as what it has on myself? And just thinking, if I come out and go back to it, that's, you know, if I get arrested again, I'll be away for a longer amount of time. And it's just a cycle I wasn't prepared to continue, because that's how life was for me. continually going to visit a close relative in prison, and growing up, even when I was in prison, I had a prison to prison phone call with this person, and that was the most embarrassing thing for me. I felt awful, and I just said to myself, this is not, like, it has to stop. Like, I can't. My son was 13 at the time, and it's like quite a crucial age, and I was like, I need to stop, because now he knows what I've been doing. He might think it's okay for him now then to start. Okay. And then realistically, what foot have I got to stand on? He'll be like, yeah, but you did it, and what can I say to that? So I just made, I had to make changes.
Okay, and so it's almost like that. One of the darkest times in your life brought about the platform to create a new season of your life.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. Because it
feel like it at the time.
No, I guess it wouldn't. You know, as you said, it was one of the things you really feared. You sound like you're a really loving mother, love your children.
Yeah, definitely.
If you didn't, you wouldn't be a fear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that being realized, that would have been like. I don't even know how to put that into words. Like, I mean, how did you endure? How did you endure it? Do you know what I mean? Like, all of, because 3.5 years is a long time.
I just had to like keep reminding myself, like, it's not forever. And again, social services, they were really good. They brought the kids up to see me every week.
Okay.
It was very, very difficult, and it was a thing where I was like, maybe I'll stop the kids from coming up to see me. But then I thought, but that's me being selfish. So if they want to see me, then I shouldn't be putting that stop on them. But it was difficult. Then my son like started getting into trouble outside, and it was just like, oh, if I was home, this would definitely not be happening. So it was just a lot of, I think the most overriding feeling I felt was guilt. And I still feel it to this day, but it was a lot worse whilst obviously whilst I was going through it.
What a story. What a story. What are you now doing, to transform the lives of others? What is it that, what is it that you're doing that is taking your pain to bring about comfort and encouragement and help and support for others? What is it that you're now doing in your life?
So I've pretty much finished my master's degree now. I've just got my dissertation to do. So once I finish that, I should be doing a course to write reports as an expert witness. So then the plan is from there to support young people who've been criminalized for being exploited, for like being on county lines. So then I can give an expert witness statement to say that this young person's been exploited and the effects. And I don't want to see young people criminalized for being exploited. We wouldn't criminalize someone that's been sexually exploited. So I struggle with, we know that we recognize them as a victim, yet let's still send them to prison for a time. It doesn't sit well with me.
And I guess you was that young person, know, and I feel it. I really believe that it's our stories that give us authority to speak with conviction, with power, with authenticity. And sometimes it's the darker our story is, the more light that can come out of it.
Yeah, I really agree.
Because being a living testament, like it's not just that you're talking about it, it's being the evidence that is possible,
Yeah.
you know. So that's why the lived experience of something like this is powerful, because the lived experience for something like what you've gone through is not usually probably as sound, or is probably, you know, is not in a position um, to be as helpful in a professional capacity as a
Yeah.
practitioner, you know, like you say, being an expert witness, like that expert witness, the expertise, a part of that is academic, and a part of
Yeah.
that is pain, torture, hurts,
Mm-hmm.
you know, thousands of hours of meditation on this issue, you know, or the thinking about it, or am I going to overcome this
Mm-hmm.
challenge, or am I going to overcome this, and so forth. So just the consolidation of your experience, the consolidation of your research. You know, I heard a word the other day which was so powerful, you know, the consolidation of your me search, of being able, I thought it was powerful. I heard it, I was like,
That's
wow.
really hitting.
um,
That's funny.
yeah, it was. I heard it's Pastor Mike from the Tab Church. He said it was powerful. I was like, whoa, me search. You know, like he was just talking about
Yeah.
relationships. Like we need to do the me search first before we even know what we want from someone else. And I just felt,
Absolutely.
wow, you know. And I feel like in this situation that we're talking about, like your me search, your research, your experience, your exposure, your academic work, it only positions you to go far and
Yeah.
above as much as your internal and external transformation will afford, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because it's got, you know, the more that we go through transformation and the more that we become different from who we once was, in our thinking, in our speaking, in our processing, in the way that we deal with things, is what enables us to really have that kind of butterfly effect. You know, like we don't look nothing like the caterpillar no more. We don't,
Yeah.
you know, we're not a butterfly that thinks like a caterpillar. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Complete transformation.
complete transformation. So I just want to say thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for
For
having
sharing
me.
this story, you know, and where can people find you? You know, people that want to engage in your services, people that want to know more about what you're doing, people that want to tap into your smarts. Where can people find you? Um,
I'm on LinkedIn
on the
and
socials.
yeah, so LinkedIn, Instagram, and then there's the website, which is sabrinahewitt.com.
Mm, wow, I I've really been blessed and blown away by your story. You know, I mean, I deal with people's stories. I always, you know, as a mentor,
Yeah.
as a mentor to mentors, as a mentor to children, it's always stories. Everyone's got a
Mm-hmm.
story,
Absolutely.
you know, and you're trying to help people to change their story in some instances, or to realize their story, or
Mm-hmm.
to recognize that this is a chapter in your story. Don't let it be the rest of your book, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and what you've done is really, you've epitomized that, in a sense of your story to start with wasn't even your fault, you know. A lot of times for children it isn't, because you're under the governance of parents.
Mm.
um, but you've gotten to a point where you've gone through your story has gone deeper and darker in different places, when you've gone from being under the care of parents to being in a realm where really you're just at risk, you know, and then
Yeah.
coming out of that to be in a place that you have a lot of insight concerning that reality. But now you're helping others with what you know, and I feel that that's a powerful story. Have you considered writing a book?
Oh, so many people have asked me this. Yeah, I will be at some point. I will.
Yeah. And you can merge it with your professional work and merge it.
Yeah, that's what I was planning to try to do. Bit of an autobiography, but with a bit of research as well.
Yeah, and you can use some of your dissertation.
Yeah.
So it's just thinking how do you kill a few birds with one stone?
Yeah, honestly, that's a lot.
But listen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your generosity, your openness, and happy birthday to your son.
Thank you very much.
I hope that just things get brighter and bigger, and your work gets exposed to more people, and people are blessed by what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
As well. Take care. All right, bye.